Few characters out of the dozens within the series remain consistently strong throughout every iteration of the game. At one point or another, they've either started out really underwhelming but got stronger later on, or started out really strong but are now a shadow of their former self. It's rare to find someone, especially one of the OG members from 64, who maintains a commanding placement on tier lists in every version. The only exception to this that comes to mind would be Pokemon's very own mascot, Pikachu. In his game of origin, Pikachu is not actually a very strong Pokemon, contrary to what he pulls off in the anime. Statistically speaking, he's just not very good or viable most of the time, and that sentiment holds true even in his final evolution, Raichu. Virtually everyone who plays Pokemon only knows Pichu for his appeal rather than his in-game performance. Interestingly enough, his overall standing in the Smash Bros. Franchise is the opposite. From 64 to Melee to Brawl to 4, Pikachu is perennially viewed as top tier or high tier at worst, and now in the 5th iteration of the series Ultimate, prevailing wisdom has him more often than not ranked in the top 3 best characters of all time, and this is even after the advent of several meta-shattering units like Steve and the Aegis, Pyra, and Mithra. Yet strangely, Pikachu has almost never garnered a widespread following of any kind in any game, and though he does have a few very well-known faces in the competitive scene like Esam, Abadango, and Shiny Mark to name a few, his representation relative to his faculty is definitely on the lower side, so today I wanted to make an episode analyzing why no one plays Pikachu. As the poster child of arguably the most recognizable video game franchise to ever exist on planet Earth, Pikachu is the first of many to grace the Smash lineup, and as his game of origin continued to expand over the past few decades, so too did the roster's inclusion of more and more Pokemon, bringing in the likes of Pikachu, Mewtwo, Squirtle, Ivysaur, Charizard, Lucario, Greninja, and Incineroar, each with their own colorful repertoires. But having been the trailblazer for his franchise, Pikachu was one of the original members of Smash, dating all the way back to 64. As such, he has a very storied competitive history, which False Swipe Gaming has made a dedicated piece on a while back if you're interested, though it only covers up to Smash 4. True to how he is back in Pokemon, Pikachu is a small and nimble character in Smash. His two most defining attributes would be his short stature and speed, both of which he exploits to his advantage very heavily. Opponents can have a hard time landing hits on him simply due to his size, or lack thereof. Naturally, you're going to be able to land precise attacks and combos more easily on the likes of Donkey Kong or Ridley than you would a tiny squirt like Pikachu. His great speed is echoed throughout his moveset as well, not only possessing incredibly fast attacks, but many of them consisting of multi-hitters, most notably his aerials. For contrasting reasons, multi-hitters have become rather infamous in Smash Ultimate. Ever since perfect shielding has been altered to occur upon successfully timing the release of your shield rather than using it, characters with multi-hits can throw opponents off guard since having multiple active frames makes parrying much harder to accomplish. However, this is offset by multi-hitters having a notorious tendency to not connect reliably into each other, an issue the developers have been painstakingly trying to remedy. Regardless, they're more of an asset than a flaw. While connecting, the user can drag their target in whatever direction they're being attacked. In Pikachu's case, neutral air is very good for drag down combos after launching them upwards, while back air is good for moving targets horizontally, usually to set up edgeguard scenarios. Like other rushdown fighters, the name of the game for Pikachu is to utilize his overwhelming speed and combo game to rack up damage before preparing kill setups, edgeguards, or ledge trapping to close out stocks. To do any of that, he has to first win neutral, which is easy to achieve in light of how difficult it is to land hits on him, his great mobility and frame data, as well as one of the best projectiles in the game for setting up just about anything you would want for a character, Thunder Jolt, a ball of electricity that travels along any surface for a long period of time. While it has almost zero knockback to speak of, it lasts for such a long time that Pikachu can preemptively toss out a Thunder Jolt, then reach his opponent at roughly the same time, effectively resulting in a one-button neutral game. A neutral game that can exert a ton of pressure just to the sheer number of things Pikachu can do off his single T-Jolt. Winning neutral entails a lot of different possibilities. At double-digit percentages, he can make use of his various combo strings to force his opponent off stage, then use his amazing off-stage mobility in tandem with the very same multi-hits that set up that situation to edgeguard his opponent. At higher percentages, he can land kill setups using combos like drag down nair into up smash or down smash, up throw into down beat thunder for a DI mix-up, T-Jolt into dash attacks, so on and so forth, giving him a lot of different ways he can kill his opponent, which is rare to see on a combo-heavy character. Defensively, Pikachu's mere existence makes him noticeably hard to combo as he can straight up fall out of a lot of things thanks to how small he is. This coupled by a frame 2 air dodge, good frame data overall, strong at a shield game, and strong recovery causes him to have much better survivability than one would expect, even with his light weight. So for the sake of conserving time, among many other things, Pikachu's high status is a result of having good numbers and properties across the board in every practical scenario you can think of, and pro players recognize this, hence why he's always in the top 5. When you think of how much stuff is actually in his kit, from approach options to edge guarding to combo trees to kill setups to added shield options to how freaking small he is, his virtues are self-evident. There doesn't seem to be anything he's egregiously lacking in. Usually when you look at a character, even top tiers, you can immediately locate a weakness, but for Pikachu, it's hard to really say that X, Y, or Z are definitive problems for him. Sure, if you get super technical about it, then yeah, you could argue that he falls short in certain fields, but not to an extent where it's something his opponent can abuse to disproportionately swing the matchup in their favor, which brings me to the biggest issues surrounding his low representation. Pikachu may be one of the strongest characters in the game, but just like how he has no weakness that any of his matchups can exploit so easily, everything that makes him good does not explicitly and totally undermine any other member of the cast. Essentially, Pikachu is a very honest character in that he has no dirty tricks up his sleeve. This can be seen as a hot take for many of you watching, but allow me to explain what I mean. To me, an honest character is someone who is only as good or bad as the one piloting them. Basically, there's nothing in their moveset that wins games for them outside of their applicable strengths. An example of a dishonest move would be something like Steve's block. He's the only character who can make his own platforms and walls on demand in a platform-centric fighting game. At the press of a button, he can invalidate entire characters. Stuff like Firefox, PK Thunder, or Climb Hazard gets screwed with just a few pieces of dirt at the ledge. No complex mechanics or combo strings required, just place blocks down. Going back to Pikachu, while he most certainly has very strong moves, none of them do more than what they're intended to do. His neutral B Thunder Jolt, despite being one of the most aggravating projectiles to deal with, is a very fair one. It does below average damage, travels relatively slowly, and has almost no knockback. That makes it really good for on-stage pressure and setting up combos, but it has no kill pressure the way Samus's Charge Shot does. This applies to the rest of Pikachu's kit. Everything serves a purpose and does no more than that. So, even for the characters he has a favorable matchup against, which is like 90% of the roster in all honesty, it's still losable, specifically because of his moveset. Yes, if we're splitting hairs, everything is a skill difference, but you get what I mean. It's not like Donkey Kong vs Cloud where all DK has to do is grab Cloud and cargo throw him off stage and he dies at 40. For Pikachu, everything's a skill matchup. He has a favorable matchup spread, but that's only if you know how to play Pikachu. You might be wondering how this is different from Joker and Sheik, who are also really hard to play. There really isn't that much difference. Pikachu is hard to play, but usually, even the quote-unquote hard characters have something that can give them a huge advantage in certain parts of the match. Joker has Arsene, for instance. You might not be the best Joker player in the world, but if you land one good back air at the ledge, they can just die because of the raw power, coverage, and speed of the attack. Pikachu doesn't have an Arsene back air. Anything that comes out really fast, like up tilt, down tilt, forward tilt, neutral air, back air, up air, they don't have a whole lot of kill power. And anything that can be used to close out stocks can only do so by backing the opponent into a corner first. Speaking of which, that brings me to my next point. Pikachu's offensive pressure is notorious for having a near-endless and wide-spanning network of combos. At low percents, he can drag you across the stage from coast to coast with back and up air loops. He can rack up easy percents with drag down nairs and down throw or up tilts. He can juggle you with his tail, advance with Thunder Jolt setups, and he excels at conditioning his opponents into choosing options out of panic. Options that he's appropriately able to cover, lending credence to his fantastic edge guarding and ledge trapping. Thing is, all of Pikachu's threat capacity hinges on how much psychological strain his opponent is able to withstand before acting on instinct. In other words, how much his opponent is actually afraid of him. To elaborate, let's go back to T-Gel for a second. Oftentimes, Pikachu likes to throw them from afar so he has time to follow up. Usually his opponent has plenty of time to see the T-Gel crawling towards them, so they have 4 choices: shield, roll, jump, or attack. So you might be thinking, why is it considered one of the best neutral tools in the game? The answer lies in the fact that it forces Pikachu's opponent to do something, anything. They can't just stand there and take it. So if they shield, Pikachu can grab. If they jump, Pikachu can forward air to catch them. If they attack the T-Gel to get rid of it, that leaves them wide open. If they roll, Pikachu can chase that roll. The more pressure you exert on your opponent, the more they default to habits, which can be shield or jump, etc. Only then does your opportunity to push the advantage appear. Pikachu's win conditions all have at minimum 2 steps, in that he has no straightforward way to close out stocks like you would see on most others. He lacks a clear blanket statement when in doubt just do this type of game plan, requiring players to understand the nuances in how Pikachu has to engage against each archetypal character, followed by the nuances between members of those archetypes, followed by the nuances between players of those characters. Granted, he has a billion ways to rack up damage and a billion kill setups, but all of them are either 50-50 mix-ups, callouts, or reliant on DI because what Pikachu doesn't have that a lot of other top tiers do, and this is why he also feels awkward to play compared to them, is option coverage. For those of you who watched my previous video on why everyone plays Rob, you may remember me repeatedly bringing out that he has those when in doubt bread and butter flowcharts that work on pretty much everyone, and he's able to create situations that back his opponent into a damned if you do, damned if you don't position, due in large part to his option coverage. For example, after using his close and mid-range attacks to knock someone off stage, he then has access to laser and gyro to eliminate recovery options one by one before going for the finishing blow. Pikachu's issue is that he has to commit to covering an option, and when he eventually does, he leaves an escape route open for his opponent. This applies to more than just neutral. When edge guarding, if you call out their high recovery, they can avoid it by recovering low and vice versa. If you use forward smash to call out a neutral get up or get up attack, they can avoid it by jumping or ledge hanging. Most if not everything Pikachu does is 50-50, which ties back to the whole skill matchup thing. His first attack is never a threat, not unless you're crazy enough to throw out a forward smash in neutral. In order for him to be scary, he has to force you into a situation where if he guesses correctly, you die, such as when he's edge guarding you or when he tosses out a T-Jolt. For context, I'm a Cloud main, and one of his most difficult matchups is Pikachu, since the latter can squeeze in between your blind spots and edge guard you very easily. But if you stand your ground and keep him from getting within range of your big sword, he will never be able to create those scenarios. One of his most dangerous kill combos is the back air wall of pain at 0%, which can drag you across the entire stage, then off stage where he can achieve an easy gimp. So all you have to do is avoid that first back air and hold stage control. This is worsened by the absence of a scary neutral kill button. Pikachu doesn't have a Samus charge shot, Luigi grab, Diddy Kong banana, or Pac-Man bell. He also doesn't have an incentive to camp, since the only thing he can do from afar is spam T-Jolt, which once again does pretty much nothing on its own in light of having zero knockback. In a contest of stray hits, Pikachu will always lose. Therefore, he has to condition his opponent using his very effective attacks and then punish whatever habits you find the player resorting to. But that becomes a lot harder against good players as they know that you're trying to do that. Unlike other Smash games where the cream of the crop are so much better than everyone else that no level of skill can pragmatically make up for it, Ultimate's roster is balanced enough to where what Pikachu has to offer just isn't convincing enough for what he fails to deliver on. His extreme precision and reaction-centric playstyle leaves too much up to human error, similarly to Sheik and Joker, that in mid to high level competition, it can actually be seen as a detriment to him. Pikachu is a 50-50 character who can get heavily punished if he fails, and mid to high level players are not good at downloading opponents in a short period of time, nor are they yet proficient at the ins and outs of Pikachu's flowcharts, combo strings, and matchup experience. Naturally, when you reach top level play, that's when Pikachu's true status is recognized. By that point, you have a very firm grasp of his fundamental strengths that you can reserve all of your mental energy on exposing your opponent's weaknesses. Then again, the higher up you go in skill, the more resilient the competition becomes, and by extension, the game knowledge they possess grows as well. Remember, earlier I said Pikachu's main strengths come from how much the opponent is scared of him. When you're throwing out T-Jolts and outboxing your enemy with superior frame data, they'll feel pressured and therefore might do something without thinking about it. Make no mistake, top players are not immune to being conditioned, but they're certainly more resistant to it. And not only that, you have to mix up your own approach options so as not to make it obvious to your opponent that you'll be approaching that way every single time. If you're only approaching using T-Jolts and not interchanging it with quick attacks or plain movement, your opponent will catch on to you making a beeline straight towards them every T-Jolt and get ready to attack. The very nature of Pikachu obligates him to put himself at risk whenever engaging. So if you lose the battle of he knows that I know that he knows that I know, you lose the match, doesn't matter who you're fighting. Whenever I hear people's opinions on Esam, who is currently the best Pikachu player in the world, something that's mentioned very frequently is his inconsistency. I don't remember who said it, but I recall someone saying that Esam is the X factor of Smash. He's able to beat anyone and everyone in the game, but he's also able to lose to anyone and everyone in the game. A huge part of that stems from the character he's playing. Pikachu is one of the most consistent characters in the roster, but Smash Ultimate is one of the most inconsistent fighting games of all time. Playing him is like playing whack-a-mole. There's a bunch of holes, but you have only one hammer. You can't cover every single option at the same time. With this in mind, there's inevitably going to be moments where you guess the incorrect hole and lose, or guess the correct hole and win. There's no possible way a player can consistently make the right call every single interaction. They can come close, but when you're playing at a high or top level against opponents who are well aware of the importance of mixing up their movements and reactions, you have to be all the more precise. By no means am I saying Pikachu is a bad character. He's a top tier, no question about it. But his entire game plan revolves around two steps. Step 1, force enemy into best situation. Step 2, punish their reaction to close out the stock and then eventually the game. Success and failure on Pikachu is dependent on consecutively achieving step 1 and 2 in that order, which is understandably not as consistent as a character who has just a step 1. An example of a step 1 is Game & Watch mashing down smash. You get hit by that a kill percent, you die instantly, and there really aren't that many characters you can punish a whiff down smash. Unless I'm wrong, the only step 1 Pikachu has is up throw at 180, which isn't the most reliable thing out there. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today. Let me know your thoughts on Pikachu in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my points. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and check out my other Why No One Plays episodes after this one. But until next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.